November 25th, two Americans will be slugging it out to see who will be Canelo's WBC mandatory. And of course, it will be between David Benavidez, aka the Mexican Monster, and Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade. And of course, this will be a very interesting fight, as most people don't know, this will be the first champion, former or current champion, Andre has ever fought. And David Benavidez, of course, is coming off of his biggest win of his career against Caleb Plant, unanimous decision win. And of course, a lot of people are choosing Benavidez to win, but some people are backing up Andre. Is there a good reason for it? We'll find out. And of course, the challenger for David Benavidez WBC interim belt, of course, is Demetrius Andrade, 32-0 with 19 knockouts, former super welterweight and former middleweight world champion. Of course, without fighting any champion. But we'll talk about that later. Of course, he has a decent knockout record. Of course, he has pop in his power. He has the ability to stop people, but doesn't really do it. And of course, his last fight was his super middleweight debut against Damon Nicholson, which, as most people don't know, is kind of the guy that gets knocked down like every fight. You know, people make a lot of money micro betting on him. Be like, yeah, I think there'll be 5 knockdowns in the Damon Nicholson fight. Like, that's just easy money. But of course, most people know Damon Nicholson as the man that stopped Edgar Berlanga's knockout streak. That's right. Edgar Berlanga was 16-0 with 16 knockouts until he fought Damon Nicholson. But, you know, we'll talk about that later. But, of course, that win does not look good because, of course, Nicholson, his most recent loss, September 8th, 2023, he did lose via KO in 4 rounds. So, not the biggest thing you want to hear when you're like, oh man, I just beat this one guy in super middleweight. Yeah, he got knocked out in 4 rounds. Then again, that was against the undefeated 24-0 fighter with 21 knockouts. So, you know, a very, very good fighter. Andre, although wasn't confirmed knocked down, he did get kind of knocked down by, of course, Damon Nicholson. So, of course, doesn't look the best. And although he did come off of his last fight at middleweight against Jason Quigley with a second round knockout, so that's something. Of course, he's fighting the undefeated Mexican Monster, who is now El Monstro because, you know, he's not just Mexican. David Benavidez, 27-0 with 23 knockouts. That's right. He is an absolute power puncher. But we'll talk about that power later. As of course, like I said, he's coming off his unanimous decision win over Caleb Plant. Of course, David Lemieux is also someone that got whooped, but whatever. But of course, David Benavidez's power is not one knockout power. He doesn't have that type of power. Although it kind of showed with David Lemieux, not really the best person, right? But he is the one to stalk you and break you down throughout the fight. Does Demetrius Andrade have a chance? He does. He does have a humongous chance, and that is because of his movement and his combination punching. Because although Caleb Plant is the better boxer and the better mover than Demetrius Andrade, Andrade has pop. He has the ability to stop David Benavidez. Although, will that happen? Probably not. But he does have the actual power to do so. And if you've seen a lot of his fights, he does have slick movement. And I think he does hold the record of being hit the least amount, at least in the middleweight division when he was in there. But then again, with less than stellar opposition, not really the best. Right. But of course, like I said, he has slick movement. Although not as good as Caleb Plant, he is better in the pocket. But in the pocket is not really somewhere where Demetrius Andrade wants to be, as of course David Benavidez likes to bully someone to the body. And of course, David Benavidez does have a lot of speed, but against movers like Caleb Plant, he cannot really rely on his hand speed. He had to rely on his brute strength to try to forcibly break down Caleb Plant, which he did successfully do. Of course, I do think this will play around the same as Caleb Plant. I think Demetrius Andrade actually wins the majority of the rounds up to round 7 or 8, which then at that point, David Benavidez's father will most likely say, hey man, we losing. You got to do something about this. And of course, with Andre feeling himself, and of course with his lack of good opposition, I think he will make a major mistake if round 8, get clipped and get severely hurt and get taken out in the 10th round. I do think that's what happens because Andrade, I think, like I said, Andrade does have the better power, slick movement, has the ability to keep Benavidez off of him, especially longer than Caleb Plant, but I do think he gets clipped. I do think, without considering this is his first champion and him being a relatively very strong power puncher, I do think that's what happens. And of course, it could also go decision, which is a very likely situation. But if it does go, I do favor Andre for the decision. But of course, that's not what I'm choosing. I'm choosing David Benavidez knockout 10th round. Because I do think a lot of people are sleeping on Demetrius Andrade. Although he is not fighting stellar opposition, he's still an elite fighter, right? Although he's probably not the elite, like up there with Canelo, obviously. But I do think he is of the elite level. I think he would have hanged in there with Caleb Plant. Obviously, okay, everyone can hang in with Caleb Plant. He's not really much of a knockout artist. But I do think a lot of people are sleeping on Demetrius Andrade. I do think he does pull off a relatively very good performance up until he gets clipped. And after this, while a lot of people are saying it, and it is true, at this point, Canelo does have to fight someone like the winner of Benavidez versus Andrade, because literally no one else is around. I mean, literally he fought two people who were not of the weight class, that being Triple G and Jermell Charlo. So, you never know. Actually, that is a little weird. He fought Triple G at middleweight, Jermell Charlo at super welterweight. And there are, although Canelo's not entertaining the ideas, what if he fights Terrence Crawford at welterweight? That'd be dumb. But of course, like I said, I do got Andre losing 10th round stoppage. There's a lot to say, because David Benavidez is severely flat-footed, and like I said, lets himself get punched quite a bit, which will let Andre get a lot of points in, a lot of rounds in. But the real question is his power going to be enough? Because if he has enough power with his abilities and his movement, I can see an upset happening. Although, is it likely? Probably not, considering it's an upset. But like I said, Andre liking to stick in the pocket most of the time, not really a long range fighter, although he does do that. When Andre is going to be in range, that's for David Benavidez's range is going to better suit him, although it also suits Andre. But I do think Benavidez starts breaking him down round 8 and gets stopped, especially with the amount of body shots Benavidez was throwing in his Plant. Because I'm trying to think, can Andre pull off the upset? And there is a chance, but it most likely will never happen. But of course, if you think Andre is going to win, by however you think he's going to win, put in the comment section below. Let other people, and start having conversations with other people, because I believe Benavidez will win 10th round stoppage in a very, very underrated fight. I do think this will be not fight of the year. I think we had a lot of better fight of the years, but I think this will be up there. I think this will be a very memorable pay-per-view, especially with a stacked undercard like it has, right? But anyways, hope you enjoy this video. The next one will be the Garcia versus Duarte fight, December 2nd. And also after that, I don't know what's December 9th. But, of course, December 16th, Jesse Bam Rodriguez will be attempting to unify his titles with Sonny Edwards. And, of course, UFC has its pay-per-view between Leon Rocky Edwards defending his UFC welterweight title against Colby Chaos Covington. Of course, the co-main event, Alexandre Pantoja will be defending his UFC flyweight world championship against Brandon Royval. A very interesting stacked card, also with other great fights on the card. We'll talk about those later. But anyways, like I said, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.